All right, Daniel, thanks for coming on and talking with me a little bit today. And so just tell me a little bit about sort of your business or in terms of, obviously you guys are a Trex Platinum dealer and but what other services do you guys offer?
Yeah, we are we do a lot of outdoor living type stuff. So we are currently a big Trex guy. We do a lot of other brands if somebody requests it, but we do patios a little bit, and then a lot of covered porches, kind of as part of the decks. Um, and so that's a fairly big part of our business, but it's a lot of that takes much time. Like we can knock out a deck in 2 weeks, where a covered porch maybe 2 or 3 months. So there's money you made there, but it everything takes a long time. Uh,
Yeah.
but but we primarily stick with that. Even even shying away from some like we don't really do concrete for the most part. So we really try to do some of the higher end outdoor living stuff.
With the covered porches, do you see any I guess apprehension or kickback when it comes to quoting those jobs? Because I know a lot of times when people look at with armor, they'll get the deck, beautiful new deck, and then we add in the covered porch aspect of it, and the price just skyrockets like we're
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people that come to us and they say, we want a deck, we may want a covered porch. We don't often end up doing those. But if somebody is like, man, we really want a covered porch, tell us the price for that. And obviously, we're going to use, high-end composite or something on there. Then those seem to be an easier sell sometimes than even the decks. I think people sometimes have a little bit of sticker shock on a Trex deck or something. But if they're doing a whole covered porch, I seem to get less sticker shock there. It's more like just price competition, but people kind of know they're going to spend a lot more on a high end, covered porch, then they just expect to spend more than a deck. I found less sticker shock there and more people are willing to kind of move forward on those covered porches, and that's one of the reasons we started doing them. Is just because the margins were better and the it's just a little bit easier to close those departments.
Sure, sure. And what's typically the time frame of uh, just a typical deck? You said about 2 weeks from.
Yeah, that's our goal. You know, it's if we're out to reorder materials or something, that can add to the time that we're
Sure.
definitely through that. But yeah, 2 weeks. That's usually demo footings, inspections, everything. We do some kind of redecks, and those could be as a week or so. Um, but a deck we try to be in and out in 2 weeks, unless it's just like crazy sized. Um, but for the most part, that's pretty doable.
So what kind of percentage do you think is redecks versus, starting fresh or just the boards, I guess?
Sure. Yeah, the deck, the boards, and the ratings. It changes. It's feel like this year people have been more price conscious, and so they want to do that. It doesn't save um, as much money, as they think it does, but it's still some. And they're, like, why would I spend even a little bit more sometimes? So, um, we also really like them because they're so in and out, and we could be there out in a week. But I would say we're probably, as far as decks go, that's probably maybe a quarter of the decks we've done this year have been kind of a redeck. And even some like really, really high end people that were like, if I can save you a whole lot of money to do this, and here's kind of breakdown, that's what they want to do. So yeah, I mean, maybe a quarter, maybe a third. Honestly, it's picked up a lot more, even though you're half the year.
Okay. And what is your, I guess, as of right now, one of the issues kind of we had as we started building decks is you can sell all day long, but if you don't have anybody to actually install it, that becomes the issue. So, how many, I mean, you don't have to disclose too much, but what kind of is your lead time or, how many crews do you have working, to be able to, be a Trex Platinum dealer?
Yeah, yep. Thankfully, that's not something that we've had a lot of issues with. Like in the first, when I first started out, and was hiring people, and we used some subs. When we first started out, was having issue finding good guys, but have seen to narrow it down in the last few years, and so that is predominantly been our big concern. That's been our biggest slowdown is make sure we've got good people, and actually hired a project manager this year to kind of help take over that. But we fluctuate a little bit. We've got like right now we have two um, in-house crews and employees, and then we have three crews of subs. And I tell people, and a really big goal for us is if when we have a sub, they they work for us nonstop. Like they go from job to job to job. That way we've got control of the process and the timelines, and we're not having to worry about them going to fix something in another customer's job. So you know the so as we have there are uh, they work for us. But in general, we've got 5 or 6 kind of crews that work.
Kind of leading into the business marketing side of things. So, first part of the question is kind of how long have you guys been doing this? And then what kind of growth did you see year after year? Or was there a certain point where maybe there was just this fast growth? Because in the past 6, 7 years, we've had a lot of once in a lifetime, things that have happened, right? Obviously, the pandemic, the election, which is, it's the election. It's caused a lot. Um, so how has that been for you over the past, half decade when it comes to just all of these things that have been occurring?
Yeah, COVID. I had been around for about a year, a little over a year, I guess, when COVID happened. So long enough to have enough experience for it to be able to propel us. Not long enough that we were. I mean, a few more years experience would have helped us even more during COVID to be able to grow. But we saw between 30 and 40% growth that year, and we kind of had that kind of going forward since then. I put a lot of emphasis on growth. So we I've got a project manager started this year. We've added another crew, and we're really focused on kind of getting to that next level.
Awesome. Awesome. So has this past year, has there been any change in that growth, positive or negative with the election? And I only ask that just because of a lot of people that I've spoken with, uh, whether it's in our industry or really any industry. I'm seeing this in media sales and whatnot, where people are just, I want to wait until after the election to make big purchases,
Yeah.
whether it's a home or a car. I want to do this. I have the money. I have the credit. I have the financing. I just want to wait until the after election. Is that something you've seen a lot this year?
It has. So this will be like I don't know that I was sophisticated enough or knowledgeable enough as a salesman or business owner to notice much of a difference during the last election cycle, but this one for sure, uh, I just noticed that people were less likely to want to move forward, and I've actually been following people that even like a couple months old that
Mhm.
just never heard back from, but post election, just it's an uncertainty thing. I
Yeah.
think that people, like you said, they have the financing in line, they want to move forward, but they just don't know what's going to happen. And the if you listen to the news, you're going to think the world's ending, and
Yeah.
so uh,
Yeah.
we certainly see some of that, and I saw more of that this year. We had done already kind of scheduled out so that our crews were going to stay busy through that cycle. And so, but we've seen some uptick even since the election. In our schedule is just kind of bumped out a little bit more. So we're I would say the more than the election though, I think is just a little bit of an economic uncertainty or just slow down. In the later half of the year, we've definitely seen like much fewer leads coming in and just people being less likely to trigger. Um, Even I think pre any concerns about the election. So it's definitely been interesting. That I would say the first one we've seen kind of a contraction in since COVID.
That's that's interesting you say that. I mean, Armor seem it you're echoing almost exactly the case where you've noticed leads have gotten slower, but they're good leads. I mean, they're interested people. They're good leads. They just don't know. And I would say in the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we've exceeded. Um, I mean, we've more than doubled what we sold last month alone in the first 2 weeks in November. So it's like maybe that's a coincidence. I don't know, but again, you're just echoing a lot of what we've seen this year. It's election, yes. Economy, yes. Um, I mean, historically, the numbers do show that there will be an uptick going forward. I know a lot of from what I've read. I don't go too deep into politics, but a lot of economists say that there should be a good 2025. So fingers crossed on
Yep.
that one.
We're blanking on them.
Yeah. Well, I think we will. I think we will. So for that growth, how did you guys? What were your first things that you did from a marketing advertising standpoint, or what started all of this? Mailers, TV, radio, door to door. Kind of what started it, and we'll kind of work to where you're at now.
Yeah, yeah. So we I would say so 2023 was the first year that I felt like I had kind of a system and um a business that like quote unquote worked that like maybe worked as wrong but proven that I felt like confident enough in that we could grow and so 2024 I decided to I actually hired a marketing firm and then I also hired a project manager. So the project manager just freed my and gave me a lot more time to focus on selling and focus on kind of efficiencies in the business and some other things. That happened earlier this year, and he's done a great job of taking on a lot of basically the job process once we get started. And then I did hire fence deck marketers. They started right around the beginning of January, so I had a website before that and a Google business listing, and they were good. We got a lot of leads, but um, the website stuff they did was pretty remarkable. I don't know that they did a whole lot to our Google My Business, um, but we probably, I mean, just in what they did there shows you how bad my website was before. We probably like in the spring, in the busy months, we probably had like 10 times the number of leads we typically did. So had to be a lot more careful about just weeding out people that were tire kickers or whatever. So that was definitely a big thing of growth for us here. So.
So it seems like digital has been the
Yes.
majority, you'd
Yeah.
say. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely digital side of that. And we started to actually wrap both of my trucks this year, and we started doing being really careful, really being just very I guess careful about making sure we had yard signs in the yards. And so just those two also, we've got a lot of feedback of even just in huge jobs where people were like, yeah, we're just driving down the street and saw your yard sign and gave me a call. So that's those two have also been super, super helpful. I've been really impressed. I was a little bit scared to pull trigger on the truck wraps, just in the cost, but it was really good decision.
One of the best ways that I've always justified truck wraps is they are very expensive, but if you look at a busy intersection in a medium to large size town, a billboard's going to cost you $1,000, $1,500 a month. So what if I could take that billboard and I could put it everywhere all at once? They pay for themselves very quickly, so
Yeah. Nice. Yep.
um, so outside of digital and the truck wraps and the yard signs, is there any other forms of advertising that y'all have done that you've seen? I know it is tougher with branding type of advertising, TV and radio, to be able to have a one-to-one, uh,
Right.
to get kind of a cost per acquisition. It is more difficult. But have you utilized any other traditional marketing, and what successes or anything have you had with that?
Yeah, yeah. So we definitely done some paid Instagram and paid Facebook advertising. Well, I've done kind of Yelp and um, you know, Home Advisor or Angie, some of those, and had very little success with that. Just pretty bad
Sounds about
quality
right.
lead.
Yeah.
It's more I've done it, and more people I talked to, they always said that it was just a waste of money, and so I definitely can echo that. Um, and then we've never explored radio or TV. Yeah, but I have people ask me about it, but um, I have never. That's never something I felt like we need to make that investment in. I did actually did a golf course this year for the first time, and it was it was pretty inexpensive. Uh, I it's a course I play at, and so I was like, it'd be kind of fun to do this, but I've not had any reads from that either.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna be sticking a little bit more to the traditional. Our next move will be Google, just some of the Google pay-per-click stuff.
Okay, so y'all haven't actually done that yet.
We've not. Nope.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. What?
Um,
We
so
do. We make a big focus on, and I don't know if you can consider this marketing, but we're we do we're pretty diligent about leads that we get from manufacturers like Trex or Trek or any of these other. They send you some to the website, and we've had pretty good luck with those.
okay.
And so the big thing for us.
Okay. Yeah, I would say of all of our manufacturers, Trex is probably gives us the best quality leads,
They
amongst
do. Yep.
we don't get a
The
ton of
other
them,
thing that Trex.
but
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing they've done that I was talking with Trex about this because I was like, man, like the number of leads you guys send is not the same as some of the other manufacturers, and they would what they said is they strategically uh will kind of point people to the contractor's website instead of a lead, because it does a little bit more kind of rooting out there in general, and the customer kind of gets to learn about you a little bit before you reach out to them, and
sure.
so they've seen a better kind of conversion rate there, which I was like, I kind of like that. It also lets you control the process a little bit more, um, because the customer then reaches out to you. So yeah, however, that was seen. They've had the quality people.
Yeah, it's a lot of the platforms that you mentioned before. I've always kind of used the term that they sell on vanity metrics, where the numbers look great, the reports are beautiful, but at the end of the day, you and I both know I need a contract signed. I don't care if you send me. It's sort of like a billboard on the interstate versus, in a shopping district. Shopping district is going to get so fewer cars, but they have intent. They live there, and um, so yeah, again, we could talk to 100 business owners across the country, and they're probably going to say the same thing when it
Yeah.
comes to those.
It's interesting those are so much, like, it seems like the leads there, people are always very, very price conscious, maybe it's because it's free service or something like that, but every just, I mean, there's so many that immediately come to mind where people were, interested in a deck or whatever, and I send them a price or something, and they're like, "Wow, this is like triple what I was expecting to pay."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Well, I don't think you can find a contractor that can do it for a third of my price. But even if you wanted like the cheapest guy, like we're not that. We're going to be a much higher quality." And so I think most homeowners that are have some more discretionary income or make a little bit more strategic um, with their research.
sure. All right, what sort of demographic do you guys, or where, or what your region? What is your typical demographic, and what kind of demographic are you targeting? I mean, obviously with Trex or Timber Tech, you're obviously, price conscious isn't always going to be the thing. So
Right.
what ideal your ideal customer?
Yeah. We have pretty much like in general two large large groups. I would say the vast majority are retired people that just want more time outside. I feel like that's probably pretty normal, but people that either can't or don't want to stain their decks anymore, um, or want like a nice backyard kind of covered space or something. So that's probably 75% of our customers, I would say. People that really appreciate kind of the hand holding through the process, and people that really kind of care more about both the process and you than the price. So uh, that's a large majority of it. And then we get a fair number of people that are, younger, either just starting their family or a young family that just want more space outside. But those people seem to be a lot more price sensitive than the priorities.
Sure. Those are usually the people that they don't really understand the cost of a deck. I mean, I
Right.
I know personally when it comes to siding decks, if you've never done it before, you have no reference or frame of reference to it. And then when
Well,
you come back with a 30, 60, $100,000 quote, you're just going, oh, okay.
yes. And I
Yeah,
try to give people some ballpark numbers on there, and that can be helpful. Sometimes people are like, okay, that's way more than I even expected. Don't even send me a quote. So there's a little bit of time saving there. But in general, it's you're right. Those people, it's funny. They just have no idea what to expect, and I don't fault them for that. But they're coming in expecting you can do a $20,000 deck for $5,000. And so I'm like, thank you for the time and let me talk to you and call me in 20 years. So
They saw the guy on a Facebook group who said, "Yeah,
yeah,
I'll come out there and do it," which
right. My neighbor
we're
got
not
there
gonna
beat with
compete.
blood gun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do, do you all use any sort of presentation, when you all go out there and quote a deck in terms of, 3D software? Do you give people any, models of the deck, or what do you all do there on the
So
sales?
I've done that a handful of times by just using uh like real-time landscape architect or something. It's just incredible amount of time it takes to do that. So we've never really jumped into that. I know there are a lot of guys that do that have huge benefits from that, and uh, we do a wide gamut of decks. Obviously, there's some redecking like we talked about, just decks, covered porch, all the way to a covered porch, and so um, we it would have to be. I'd really have to kind of figure out what customer wants to do that, because there's certainly time and some cost involved in that. It's funny because usually, even somebody you're talking about, like, well, you're gonna spend 50 or 60 grand outside. You mentioned like $1,000 design fee, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I can't pay that. And so, it's not something I really learned how to sell yet, and it's not something we really jumped into. Um, Frankly, I don't have time to spend, to do very many of those. So that's not something we've ever really looked into. But it's that way something I've considered as we're doing some starting to do with some higher end and just really nicer stuff. But
Mhm.
right, uh, I don't really see the need much good for that.
You talking about you mentioned higher end. What's in terms of at least composite decking, we'll just use Trex as an example. What percentage do you think are gonna be your economy boards versus some of your higher end boards? I the temperature, software and some of their boards is great. We've installed it on quite a few homes, and I know Trex doesn't give you an exact number. I understand why they don't. I mean, we've seen 15, 20-degree difference in some of those
Yeah.
boards, but it's still a composite board.
Yeah. Right.
It's still hot. So
Yep.
I don't know. How do you all, or what are you all doing in that?
Yeah. I love those transcend lineage boards, and I think they sell themselves. I do present them often, and so it's funny because some people are like, if we're gonna spend 30,000, we might as well spend 35 and get the transcend or something. Other people are like, oh, like this is already more than I wanted to spend, so I'm gonna use the enhanced line. And we I do encourage people to look at the transcend if it's not like a front porch deck that doesn't get used very often. Um, because I've been very impressed with both the color or the cooling technology, but also the uh, just the durability of the board seems to be way better. But in years past, we're probably 75% enhanced, 25% lineage, but this year we're probably closer to like half and a half. We've definitely seen kind of as I kind of talk with people about some of the benefits, seeing more of a shift to the higher end board. Um, so that's been really cool. Um, and I actually, as far as Strikes is concerned, I think their lineage, I'm sorry, their luxury line has pushed people to the lineage because they're not like, okay, I'm just getting the premium board. They're like, okay, it's still middle tier, and they're kind of like, okay, I'm not getting the most expensive board, but I'm still getting a nice one. That seems to have been a big
Sure.
helper on that. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
We're seeing that a lot more where people are like, let's just go down one step. You're gonna get that same technology, and I'm not getting a huge benefit. It's still a great board. But no, I'd say our team is seeing almost probably the same thing you are in that regard. Just in pricing those boards and what they end up choosing. And the other premium products, I mean, how are you all selling a lot of, some of the Trex cable railing, the glass railing, and their aluminum railing, or are you using something else? Or
We're
how much of that do
looking
you
at
see?
Yeah, I hate to beat on Trex here, but their aluminum railing and cable railing is so much more expensive than a lot of the other stuff you can get. That unless somebody is like dead set, they're like, "This is what I want," and that's what we'll do. But man, I like we've our one of the biggest distributor we work with often stocks Westbury railing, and so we started to use them a lot. It's it's good price point, good railing, and the other thing I like about Westbury is it comes in like different length increments. So it's got like a 5 and a 7, some of those like weird numbers, so you're not having a bunch of waste involved. So we've started to use them, and then as far as cable railing goes, we've used a couple of brands like Musada or the City Post. We've never tried the cable from Trex just because of the cost. Honestly, like it's just I'm a big fan of like value engineering stuff for people. I'm not out there trying to sell the most high expensive thing you can get. Uh, and we've never done glass, but I really I would love to do it. It just
I
yeah.
I would love to do glass on a lake house or a mountain view home. It
Oh
just looks
yeah.
amazing, but that is so astronomically expensive.
A lot of people that I talk to are even more worried about like they're like the cost for sure, but like they're like I'm gonna have to clean that thing all the time. Like even if
Yes.
someone feel like they put their nose on it, people
Oh,
are
it'd look
worried.
awful. That would
So
look awful.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be wonderful to deal.
So kind of wrapping it up, I mean, kind of going back to the advertising side of things, and you can kind of give me roundabout numbers if you want. The three numbers that we're kind of more interested in would be, you know, what what numbers are you looking at in terms of how much you guys are really spending or how much effort are you putting in to getting a lead? The second part of that would be, do you have kind of a designated amount that you have earmarked for advertising, based on your revenue goal? And kind of what are your annual sales figures and do you have, a 5-year, 10-year plan in that regard?
Yeah, it's I don't have a great plan yet for us for 5-year, 10-year kind of thing. Because we have uh this year's been a big year for growth and kind of seeing what opportunities we have. So kind of the sky's the limit for us there. I mean, really trying to grow as much as we can, but have not sat down and looked at numbers yet. But like I said, we've definitely been seeing a 30 to 40% growth in revenue over the last couple of years, and so that's really fun to do. A lot of things break as you're doing that, so it's been a fun growth. But as far as our marketing goes, I mean, we're probably pretty similar. I think that kind of 3 or 4% of revenue kind of number there, and I don't actually know our cost per customer when we're looking at that. And it's because I know a lot of companies that do like they just do like new projects, so it's a little easier to find there. But like obviously, I can't value a customer the same way that's doing $100,000 covered porch as a $50,000 deck versus like
Sure.
$1,000 redeck. Like the customer's
Yeah.
value is so different to me based off of that. So um, I don't have a number in there, but it's definitely you know I'm sure it's well within the thousand for a lot of that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you talking to me. And
Yeah.
where can people find you and where are you guys located at?
Man, we're you can find us all online, Harpeth Decks. So there's not another one of us in the country, but we're out of Nashville. Um and we work the whole greater Nashville area. I was born and raised here, so I love it and enjoy getting to be a part of that now. So yeah, feel free to call me. I mean, if you we're still at the point if somebody calls the website or Google, it goes right to me. So don't hesitate to reach out if you want to talk or got questions. I always love talking about the industry. And
All right.
yeah. Well,
All right. Awesome, man. I appreciate it.